Hi there. This is a new video of Seibert Group, and I have a guest. It's Chris Cooke. Hi, Chris.
Martin, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
You were saying something about Armageddon. I like the drama. You like the drama.
Sure.
So what is the drama about?
I think it's going to be a really tough few years for a lot of the vendors.
I call it unwanted homework. Yeah.
But that's the problem, right? If it isn't broke, no one wants to fix it. I think the era of the bedroom developer that comes up with a plucky little feature and suddenly is making $1 million without doing any marketing whatsoever is kind of over.
We're in Anaheim in California. And are you jet lagged?
A bit, but I'm much happier to be here than Vegas. I think it's a better location for this group.
And it's no longer Plymouth, but Thailand for you. Chris.
Yeah, I moved the whole family. It was a big move, but it's been a good one for us so far.
Let's start by talking a little bit about the Atlassian ecosystem. There's been a lot of changes, some of them, I would say, almost dramatic. When we talked off the record, you were saying something about Armageddon, and I like the drama. You like the drama.
Sure.
So what is the drama about?
I mean, I like to be cynical and dramatic. Am I wrong? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a really tough few years for a lot of the vendors who, we used to joke about it, like all I've made is a small feature that Atlassian should have made themselves. And Atlassian have been very clear and upfront that if that is your business model, the god of the gaps, you've made a little thing that Atlassian haven't got round to yet, your time is coming. And I think with Forge and the fact that they will enable their big enterprise clients to make their own apps and all that's happening in AI, those gaps will get closed quicker and quicker. So I think companies have to be really selective and strategic with what they're going to make something very, very well, so that Atlassian don't think we could do it better.
To put it in perspective for customers, vendors are people who are adding features, apps to Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, maybe Jira and Confluence, and feature apps is how Atlassian is calling them. There are alternatives that can be called that, and it means that you cannot have a gap in your feature set that every customer is looking for, where you could say, let's say Drawio, for example, oh, this needs to have a diagramming solution. Oh, it doesn't, so I'll buy Drawio, which was a hell of a ride for us and a big growth for the Drawio product. But nowadays, Confluence comes with Confluence whiteboards, which is obviously not really, and we don't see any effects of that, but it is like very simple use cases. How's that for you? You're working with Collabsoft now, and Figma. How's it called? Jira for Figma, or Figma,
Figma
for Jira?
and Confluence, and integration.
And this is a Collabsoft extension, or app.
Integration,
But Figma has their own as well, right?
They do, yes, but.
And how do they compare?
So the way Figma's done things is they built it as a tollway, trying to get more people over to Figma, right? They have Figma dev mode, so they're encouraging Figma as the main hub of the work. And that's fine for developers that are happy to work in Figma. Often front-end developers are more used to that workflow, but it's not where everyone wants to work. And for bigger organizations which are using Atlassian, which are most of the people we're talking to, the more natural place for that work to sit is in Confluence and Jira. So that, as often is the case, there is a free standard integration that's been made, and it has its place and its purpose. But anyone that's looking to deepen that integration, we have a few key features, like a few different view options, the choice of having live or locked in version control. Because I found the handover between designers and developers is one of the most fraught, and different companies solve it different ways. But one of the worst ways is just lots of meetings and lots of backwards and forwards. A developer spends a lot of time, and their time is very valuable, working on a design, and then the designer goes, no, you were looking at the old version. That's the wrong thing you built. So yeah, that can be very frustrating and tedious. So it's really important to get.
So you have kind of like the same challenge.
Oh, absolutely.
There is a free alternative, and obviously it's working nevertheless. And Armageddon means that you think that a lot of people will not make it. They, why is that? So as a customer, I would be afraid a little because I may be using some of these apps and then they don't work, and I.
Well, the good news is the only reason an app would stop working is because Atlassian made such a better version. Mm-hmm. And more I'm seeing from the presentation today that Atlassian aren't looking to make a lot of money. They're looking to make a bigger platform that's much more inclusive. So it's not like the customer would have to pay more to replace the apps they're using. This is the real threat for vendors is when Atlassian builds it as standard feature in Jira Vanilla, then why would you pay more for an add-on? So the lights will only go off on your add-ons when they're no longer valuable. And
so I shouldn't be afraid as a customer.
I don't think so. I mean, the big test will be whether apps bother to port to Forge. And if the dev team considers it a priority and goes through that spring cleaning, then it's an app that they're prioritizing. We all know that there's some vendors with more than 20 apps.
There's a couple, yeah.
I mean, it's different a company of your size, right? You can afford to split your focus more. But yeah, there's some small vendors with more than 20 apps and built in, the shed of a part-time developer. That's not going to fly anymore. The Atlassian experience is getting much more mature and professional. So.
Yeah, to give us some background on that, Atlassian has announced that they will deprecate Atlassian Connect API points by the end of 2026. Maybe they'll postpone it. Do you think they'll postpone it?
Atlassian has a habit of delivering the bad news and then being lenient and extending it a bit. But I mean, the writing's on the wall, and 2026 isn't that far away anymore.
Yeah. You could say almost all people who have cloud apps have to kind of rewrite them, or at least make sure that the old API points that will be deprecated will be replaced by Forge API points.
I see that as a positive. It's a huge opportunity. A lot of these apps
spring cleaning,
quite old.
He's calling that. When you said that, like a couple of seconds ago, I think, oh yeah, that's a nice business term for. I've always called it. Yeah, I've called it unwanted homework. Yeah.
But that's the problem, right? If it isn't broke, no one wants to fix it. But some of these apps were built 7 years ago, not with the latest practice, not with the best UX. It's harder and harder.
Oh, good UX is a pillar of Atlassian software, right?
And it's getting more. Well, it's getting better and better, and they're aiming to. Yeah. So. And if you've built an old thing, a lot of these teams you find when you talk to them is they're spending more and more time on technical debt. Every time Atlassian upgrades, it takes longer and longer to make it work and compatible. So yeah, it's about time. It gives a chance for, I think, the next generation of vendors, or also people like you who are Forge first and Forge forward thinking.
Do you think it's, is the stickiness to existing apps so high that the incumbents will keep on winning, or is that a technology shift that opens doors for newcomers to just do something that is established already in a new way?
I would love to think that it's a big opportunity for the small guys. I'm always fighting for the underdogs. Unfortunately, people that have a huge advantage and millions of dollars in their savings accounts are in a lot better position to do the compliance work that's necessary, that enterprise customers are looking for, to do the marketing, to do the support. So I think the advantages of Forge makes it easier to get started with an app. But once again, you're going to find the rich and the powerful consolidating because they have such a head start and they have all the pieces. And I think the era of the bedroom developer that comes up with a plucky little feature and suddenly is making $1 million without doing any marketing whatsoever is kind of over.
Okay.
We're in an era of conglomeration, mergers and acquisitions.
And some of those bigger players who have gobbled up a lot of apps that they have bought, they now also have a lot of unwanted homework, right? And
technical debt, a lot of porting to not just Forge, but also cloud, and some of these apps, right?
And do you think that was baked into their calculations when they bought all these apps, or is that bad news?
I think they believed economies of scale, that they could help these apps port to cloud and forward better than they would be able to do it themselves. I'm yet to see that, but I don't follow them as closely as probably you do.
Yeah, I'm not very technical, but I'm in close contact with very technical people, and I don't see the economies of scale on that yet. But
that's the promise, right? That's
maybe we're just too small, so we can't see it.
Awesome.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your Collabsoft journey. So that's not the only app, but it's the most pressing for you, the most valuable.
Well, it was the choice. So Collabsoft have a bunch of apps. They've never done marketing before, so they kind of just build for problems as they see it, as it comes up. They're their own first users.
So what's the overarching problem? I have that's basically a question for Figma then. Collaboration between
designers and developers, and that, not just the collaboration, but the handover and making sure you've got proper version syncs, making sure you've got proper views. And context switching. So it is a pain having to learn how all the intricacies of the Figma platform. Not every developer wants to do that. Not every...
And it's incredibly expensive, right?
Yeah, it is. And we've built a way so that only people that want to use Figma have to buy a license.
Yeah.
Which helps.
And what does it do? So I have a Figma design, and then I can embed it in a Confluence page?
Yep.
Or?
So you can either then see a live view, if you want it to always show the most updated version, or if you want to lock in a version, say work on this, and I'll be fiddling with other versions, but don't update that, you can choose that option. So it means you don't have to download a screenshot or a PDF of your design and upload it to Confluence or Jira.
And you then have to create a public link in Figma, and you use that, or what is?
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds like technically not that difficult. Are there other solutions in the marketplace who do the same thing?
There's a couple. I'm not impressed with them.
Yeah. Don't look at them. Only look at the Collabsoft one.
Please do. Like I'm confident you'll go with us.
Yeah. Okay. And what else is in stock with Collabsoft?
They're just good guys, Martin. Like, for those that don't know Remy, how would you describe him? What I liked about him was the same thing I liked about you. Just a straight shooter. He speaks his mind, and when he does, it's often very considered and brings a lot to think about. So he keeps me on my toes.
I've heard that he's at the same time a most hated and most read person for Atlassian employees.
I wouldn't say just hated, I'd say controversial. So I bet there's people at Atlassian.
Oh, isn't that controversial if you're most read and
let's say polemic. So you either love him or hate him, right? We have Marmite in England, that's their advertising policy. Yeah. Because I bet for every person at Atlassian that's like, oh, Remy, there's someone who's like, I've been saying this for years, and they want to upvote his post, but they can't. So.
Yeah, I didn't see him anytime post anything that didn't have a goal or wasn't kind of thought through. Sometimes.
Like Daniel Wester, I think it comes from a place of love and respect and thinking Atlassian should do better and can do better and its customers deserve better. So.
But sometimes it hurts.
Sure, the truth often does. It's the most painful.
What would you suggest to customers in this landscape? Can I just wait it out, and or should I? So we offer assessments of how far an app is in their Forge adoption. What should customers do?
Well, I mean, if you look at the data, it does appear customers are waiting it out. That seems to be the trend that's happening. There's a few reasons for that. Big migrations to cloud, economic turbulent times, and AI is changing a lot. The cost of Atlassian can go up sometimes, so people are wondering, okay, well, if we're moving to cloud and the cost going up, what do we need? What do we not? Let's find out. Let's have those tough discussions. So already there's been a little bit of cooling off of the rapid growth we've seen in the last year. But I think Atlassian despite the bad news, and it's understandably frustrating for some people, it's threatening their livelihood, but no one deserves to have a business forever with an outdated product. So you have to keep up with the times, evolve or die. Software is too new an industry for people to get complacent and lazy. Forge is all about thinking forwards, making sure you have the compliance that an enterprise customer would expect. And there will be more and more badges and hoops to jump through. I mean, Atlassian today announced that they're going to have an isolated cloud. So they're going to be looking to capture more and more banks, government, defense contractors. Big business if you can win it. But obviously the expectations for those customers is very strict, and they will expect a lot of compliance, a lot of best behavior. And so again, the days of the plucky bedroom developer are numbered now. Is that unfortunate? Depends on your perspective. There's still plenty of small startups they can sell to. But if you want to sell to the BAE Systems of the world or Bank of America, you're going to have to come correct.
Do you think Atlassian's going to keep on or restart growing like crazy like in the past, or is that time over? So they had a strategy that was land and expand. So we land in a company and then we grow our usage within this company. And it's become more of an expand strategy, I think. So people are moving from data center to cloud. People are using Atlassian more, but the net new numbers,
I've started to see things from both sides, which might not be the most interesting of answers, but it's worth considering. I think a 22-year-old software developer just graduating from university probably isn't excited to use Jira. Like, with all those big enterprise customers, Atlassian is becoming so mature that it's becoming the old and boring things it used to replace in some ways. But at the same point, good luck getting Notion for 200,000 users. So and I think it's easy to see the exciting period of hypergrowth over, especially because the future's so uncertain, right? But I was really impressed by the keynote today. And you know me, I'm very cynical. I think the last few keynotes in the last few years have been more about Atlassian's share price, really, a message to the shareholders than to the users. Today was different, and what I saw today was really exciting. I think a lot of what they're offering, yes, more expansion than net new customers, although I do think they're coming for ServiceNow. There's a few other big legacy partners who they now have a more complete offering, and they seem to have a much clearer vision with that. And I think, I'm very skeptical of AI, but no, I was very impressed with what's going to be possible now, combining the Loom video meeting, automatically taking notes from that, converting that into ideas, aligning that with all the other tools that do that, from Jira Align, if that's where you're going for. I think there's going to be a lot of options. And so, yes, it probably will be more expansion than landing net new customers, but there's a huge opportunity there.
Okay. One tip for customers and one for partners, apart from using more Figma and Jira.
A tip for customers. I hope they all do it, but sometimes the basic fundamentals are what gets missed out. Have a small cloud instance, have a nerd that loves Jira and Confluence and playing with it, and be always trying out apps. I think sometimes people just rely on someone clicking the "can I try this add-on" thing, and then it's just there's a gatekeeper that says yes or no and how much does it cost. In order to get the most out of these tools, there's exciting changes all the time, we know. And definitely have someone that cares enough to be trying new add-ons on a small demo instance.
And for the partners and the vendors?
For the partners and the vendors, I think it's the era of specialization. For too long, too many people have tried to be everything to everyone. They all compete with each other in the same territories and in the same spaces. And I think anyone that focuses and becomes the best in their niche will reap the rewards. It's a confusing, chaotic landscape. If you're clear what you are, people will flock to you. That'll be a strong magnet.
That's Chris Cooke. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure, Martin. Thank you so much.